All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. It is week one of the 2024 fantasy football season, which means we are back with the Texas League Fantasy Podcast. I am one of your hosts. My name is Dwayne. I'm also known as Debo, and I am the manager of the Devastator team. I am joined by my two co hosts, one of them, a multi time champion. Please introduce yourself.
Oh, my name is Jared. As he said, I'm a multi-time champion. I'm also the commissioner of the Texas League.
Welcome.
Like I said, we got another co-host over here. We're gonna let him introduce himself.
Oh, yes, we do. And that co host has the same number of championships in this league as his favorite team. So good. Welcome back to the 2024 season, sir.
Okay, so we starting like this, huh? All right, cool. So obviously I'm Robert. I manage Mathis King, and I'm an absolute Raiders hater because ain't nothing good about the black and silver. Just saying, that's
Oh,
just my personal thing. They trash. I don't care what they did to us last year. That was last year. We don't live in the past. We
yes,
going for the
yes.
future, and I'm winning this year in this story.
Well, not to, just to be completely transparent, I also am a person that has not won the Texas League yet, so I'm not going to try to perpetrate like I have. So I will absolutely put myself out there in that regard as well. So we're looking forward to today's
That's because you
podcast.
keep inviting ringers in the league.
Hey, we not gonna talk about that. And I have a habit of doing that. Not just this league, people I've invited into the other leagues that I'm a part of also won before me. But why you got to bring up my pain? That's okay. I'm okay with it. We're gonna be all right. Jared, what's our kickoff this week?
Um, as the NFL season has not quite started yet, we're gonna touch on college football.
Oh,
We
okay.
want, I want, there are some perceived powerhouses that have looked quite subpar so far. Clemson did not look good against Georgia. Florida State, especially that quarterback, looked like he got an NIL deal with Waste Management,
I saw that meme.
and he and
Very
he
funny.
came out of high school highly ranked. It was Bryce Young, him, C.J. Stroud. He's still in college. They both getting NFL checks, but
Remind me, is this his third college team?
this is his third team in 5 years.
So no matter what, he's out the door at the end of this year. And I think Florida State
Yeah,
fans are very happy about that with the way he's playing
Mike
through the
Norvell might
first
be
year.
out the door too,
Well, you know,
depending on what that
fall
pay,
apart.
depending on what his buyout is.
Uh,
Well, third time's a charm, isn't that what they say?
hey, you never know. If everybody else minds, I want to touch on Clemson and Dabo. It just, you know, Dabo Swinney is a two-time national championship coach. I believe he went to four national championship games in the college playoff system or the previous iteration. I think it's all been the playoffs. So he's won a couple of championships, had some really good dynamic players in Deshaun Watson and Sunshine uh, down there in Jacksonville now. But I think that he, like his former mentor, is a victim of the game passing him by at this point. He has not changed or adapted in the last 4 years as college football has shifted into this NIL system. And Clemson is not getting the recruits, they're not getting the production out of their players that they have before. And I think that his unwillingness to change is the reason why they looked just absolutely awful against Georgia. Like that was a game that everyone expected to be a lot more competitive.
Not just in
But
the first half.
exactly. And only one of those teams showed up for all four quarters. So I think Clemson's still going to win a lot of football games this year. But if they were going to use that game against Georgia to gauge their ability to stand up against elite talent uh, in college football right now, they are severely lacking right now.
Didn't Dabo say he didn't want to do anything with the NIL because he was old school, and so he didn't want boosters basically giving too much money to the kids. But for that reason, just like you said, he's going to let everything pass him by.
Yeah. But the reality is, no matter what school you are, old school, new school, that is where the game is now. So I get it. Like, if you don't want to deal with it, there's only one solution to it. So, well, there's two solutions. You can not engage and lose, or you can do what we saw two all-time greats do over the last 2 years, and Coach K in basketball and Nick Saban in football, and decide it's been enough.
Yeah,
So
time to go be an analyst. Florida State.
I'll say this much.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Florida State. They have a good year. They make some noise. Then they have like 4 trash years. Sometimes you get 2 good years in a row. Well, let me rephrase that. Since Bobby Bowden left. When Bobby was there, they was consistent. Since he left, you might get a couple good years. Like they had 2 good years with Jameis and Delvin Cook and Kelvin Benjamin and all them. Then they fell off for a couple years. They had the good year last year before the quarterback got hurt. Around that, Mike Norvell tenure there, they've been trash, hot poo poo, whatever you want to call it. Basura caliente. If there's anybody who speaks Spanish, so bad you got to say it in foreign language. Like I don't think he has a winning record except for last year.
Well, what makes me laugh from last year, they were arguing. They're like, "Oh, we should be in the playoffs. We should do this. We should do that. Look at what we did." I'm like, first off, you're playing the ACC. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's not pretend like you're in the SEC or something. You're like where you're actually better, or even the Big 12 battling teams every single week that are, I don't know, actually good. I'm like, who the ACC got? Miami, Clemson, and then I ran out of teams. So, I mean, wow, you got two.
Duke had a good quarterback for twice in the last few years.
But this isn't a basketball game here we're talking about. Let's think about this. So talking all this noise, I'm like, okay, put up or shut up. Well, you got to shut up because you went to Ireland and just made a fool of yourself losing to the damn Yellow Jackets of freaking Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech. So it's like, okay, everyone has an off day. I get it.
I know so many people.
So it's like,
I know so many people that flew to Ireland for that game. Like, I know at least 6 people that are diehard Florida State fans and or alum that flew to Ireland for that game.
They asked for their money back?
Bruh. They should have. I'm like, if you told a Florida State fan from the 90s that, hey, please enjoy this because 25 years from now, y'all are going to lose. Y'all going to start the season by losing to Georgia Tech and Boston College on back-to-back weeks. They would have told you there's absolutely no way that would happen.
Hold on. With that being said, that's like telling a Cowboys fan 25 years ago, enjoy these Super Bowls because you ain't going to win one till who knows when. It's the same principle. Right?
First of all, 30 years ago. Second of all,
it's not quite 30. I've held this. I think we're at 29, so it's not quite 30.
So, but not only will you not go back to the Super Bowl, you won't even make it to another NFC Championship game as of 29 years from today.
Like that statistic I found, their last NFC Championship and Super Bowl is closer to the Apollo 11 landing than it is current day.
So cold. All right. Yeah. So anyway, but college football has given us a couple of good warm-up weeks.
Just like that, they went from 10 to out of the top 25. I thought that was hilarious. I knew they dropped. I figured maybe they might keep them at number 25, but they're like, nah.
No. The rankings, we've seen enough. They
dropped into Division 2. That's what happened. They lost those 2 games. They dropped into Division 2.
They pulled the English Premier League on them. They relegated them boys to a lower level.
They gonna send them to another conference?
I'm just saying they might as well. Shoot.
You can go to Mountain West or the Pac-12. There's only 2 of them. They need somebody.
I don't know.
All right, so it's been a very interesting NFL offseason since we all last talked. Free agency, the NFL draft, lots of contract holdouts over the summer. Wide receiver,
legal issues.
I mean, good look. I mean, I think that the Chiefs winning that last Super Bowl in our stadium, they imbibed some of our 70s and 80s spirits into their team because they have been arrested at a rate this offseason that we would call impressive. Good God. I don't think they went 2 weeks this offseason without a player being arrested or being in the news, indicted, or something. Good grief, man. So, but luckily, their tight end happens to be dating the biggest pop star in the world. So they've been keeping their focus over there. And Jackson has kept himself off TikTok after seeming to slide out of those allegations in that bar where he, gave that lady some unwanted attention. Uh, Brittany Mahomes is cranking things up right in time for this fall's election and her support of the orange one. So you never know. Every chance they get, they have an opportunity to embarrass Patrick a little bit more. So never seems to affect him on the field. But hey, anyway. So that being said, we did have our fantasy draft. We are a keeper league where we have 24 players that get carried over between the 12 teams. Sometimes that happens where we see some trades where one team may keep three, another one keeps one, the team keeps four, another one trades for those picks, etc. This offseason was surprisingly low on people keeping more than two players. So we had 24 players off the board before we went into our draft. So like the previous, is this our third year we're doing this, or was this just the second year that we did this with where they reviewed our draft?
I think it's
This is the third year.
This is the third.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, because the first year we didn't do it live. They recorded it and we just were able to view it. But this year this year, like last year, we were able to view the podcast as they reviewed our draft. Jared, please remind me of what the name of that podcast is. I do not want to get it incorrect.
It's actually they call it the Going for Two Network. They're on YouTube. I know they have some podcasts they do on YouTube.
Okay, and what we'll do is we'll also drop a link to their podcast group. They do a lot of fantasy podcasts across different spectrums on different iterations from redraft to daily fantasy. So these guys are enthusiasts, and so we appreciate them breaking down our league. Essentially, what they do is after our draft, they take a look at the results, and then they go in and they basically say, based on the results of the draft, these are the teams that you most likely want to take over. And so they rank those teams from 12 to 1. 12, of course, being the team that no one would like to take over, 1 being the team that they collectively think would be the best to take over based on the results of our draft. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're saying these teams have the biggest likelihood of winning the league, but they say that based on if they had to take over a team in our league, this is the team they would take over. So we're going to take a look at the results of that podcast review. Let's just share this real quick. All right. So based on the reviews from the Going for Two podcast, this is how the rankings shook out. So we're not going to go through every single pick, but of the 3 members of the podcast, Jared had the highest ranking. Somebody on the podcast had the lowest ranking of the 3 of us. And I knew I was going to be better than him. And he got scared when I said, let's make a bet on it during the live podcast. And he refused.
Get scared. There's a difference.
But yeah, so Jared, you've known the owners of Two Boobs, Two Balls, One Goal the longest. How do you think they felt about being ranked as the team that Going for Two would like most take over?
I reached out to one of the owners the following day, and he said he kind of said it's a blessing and a curse. He appreciates the love, but he thinks by being called the number 1 team, it kind of, I don't want to say it puts a target on his back. He says he thinks it gives him kind of bad juju. He didn't he appreciates it, but at the same time, he's like, oh, he kind of thinks it might work in reverse.
Okay, interesting. Now, the one thing that they seem to agree on the most is that, and it was, if I remember correctly, the number 12 team, Benchborough and Deal, they said he was ranked the lowest is 12, and his highest ranking, I believe, was 9 or 8. So they were kind of down on our boy with Benchborough and Deal. Again, you know him pretty long. How do you think how did he feel about that?
Uh, you know, after the draft, I reached out to most people. I reached out to him. He said that he didn't feel real great about his draft. He said he was going to need some players to produce. He was going to need some luck, which we all need in fantasy. So he wasn't super shocked that he was 12. But as we all know, the rankings are what they are. It's
Right,
what you do once the season starts what really matters.
right. It's interesting with these fantasy guys when they do these reviews because anyone who's like we are that plays fantasy football, like the idea of not having a backup quarterback is odd to me. This is something that they've commented on with our league for the second year in a row now, is that most of us carry two quarterbacks. Um, and they were like, "Oh, you're wasting the roster spot." But my thing is, we only play one quarterback at a time, and no matter what the positions are, you have backups in every spot. So the quarterback being one of the more important positions to have a backup to, I never understand why they are down on us having a second quarterback. So you saying it's better for me to have a sixth wide receiver who is the fifth wide receiver on the depth chart of his team versus having a solid backup QB? No, I disagree with that.
Yeah,
So,
I'm with you on that one because what if you have two? They're depending on who they're playing. They're like, oh, this person matches up better because they're playing, I don't know, the Raiders or something. And so like, let me go in and pick them up and put my normal starter down because they're playing, I don't know, the Bucks, and the Bucks defense is solid. Like how I use both y'all teams as an example. But anyway, and so so like if I got somebody I'm like, oh, he's going against the Raiders, their secondary is trash. All right, let me start him. They're like, oh, he's going against the Bucks. So let me go and sit him down because I ain't trying to have somebody laying on their back all day. So
it's interesting you said laying on their back all day because I believe 63-21 produced a whole bunch of on back moments
and again,
for the Chargers.
Mr. Morrow, again, Mr. Morrow, like I said before, we don't talk about the past. That already happened. We are future searching folks. We look for the future, not the past. So get out the damn past. You sound like a damn Cowboys fan. Get out the past and let's work on the future, brother.
I'm just pointing out the reality of the situation.
I don't know your reality. So let's move on.
It's gonna be so funny when Harbaugh sucks. Anyway, so but yeah, I would say that I really enjoy having an outside perspective on the rosters from people versus just the automated AI rankings from Yahoo because I think with the AI rankings, Yahoo gives itself too much of a pat on the back. So we had a couple of people who straight up auto drafted this year for whatever reason. One person, he just seems to have made it a habit to do an auto draft. Not that he's not a good fantasy player. I think he just like screw it. It's just some energy I don't want to expend on the draft. So it's not surprising that Yahoo gave the auto drafted people pretty good grades. So let's actually take a look. So this is the rankings from the podcast. And this is how Yahoo rated our draft and projected our finish. So I will say this Yahoo absolutely agreed with the Going for Two podcast with the top team in terms of draft result as well as the projected finish. So, Two Moves, Two Balls, One Goal also got the nod from Yahoo for having the stellar draft. Former champion DBT Kirkwood also received an A+ grade, but Yahoo gave the edge to Two Boobs, Two Balls. And where they also agreed was with Benchborough and Deal. having a bad draft, but our reigning league champion just got talked down on by all facets, by Yahoo, by the Going for Two podcast. So Acorn is our reigning champion. They got a D- and are projected by Yahoo to finish dead last. I don't think that's fair when you look at their roster because they do have some very strong players on their team. He's had injury issues in the past. So if your favorite player's on his team, please believe and know that he's going to be a curse to that player. You think I'm not, you want to think I'm joking? That wide receiver that got shot for the 49ers.
Oh, that's right. I forgot he was on his team.
So if you think the curse of Acorn in his injury-riddled teams is not real, one of his players has already been shot and will be out for at least 4 weeks. So I don't know what to tell you. All right. So that's where we stand with that. So we're going to jump right in. So I'm going to switch it around a little bit. I know we were going to say we're going to talk about. So I want to go right into looking at this week's picks for our league, and then we'll come back to that other question. We're going to jump right into this week's picks. We don't usually get our rivalry week this early, but since this opening weekend of the NFL season produces some good matchups, we got it early this year. So we're going to work from the bottom up here. Week 1, we have Acorn versus Muff Divers. So looking at the rosters, and again, this is an example of A+ Yahoo ranking for Muff Divers versus D- Yahoo draft ranking for Acorn. Jared, who do you have in this matchup and why?
Oh, wow. I am going to go with the person who I believe should have won the league last year, but he shot himself in the foot by not setting his lineup, Muff Divers. And I'm going to make that choice because we've already talked about how our reigning champ has a way with players. I don't believe Ja'Marr Chase is playing this week. Who's on his bench? That's an issue. You got Lamar Jackson versus Kansas City, who let their best cornerback go. Looking on his bench, I don't see anyone that's going to produce like Ja'Marr Chase, in my opinion. I don't.
No, you never know. I mean, Pickens has a new QB. Atlanta's defense is mid. Sorry, Falcons fans. But they are.
Their defense gained a few players in the offseason that might help it not be so mid, as you call it.
But let's see. Do we have any news from Ja'Marr Chase? Let's see. Well, he practiced on Wednesday. Okay. So his holdout is not. It's not an injury. He's looking for a new contract. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen before the start of the season, but apparently he's ready to play. So we'll just see if he does actually play. But okay, so you going Muff Divers? Deuce, who you got?
Muff.
See, I'm on the edge with this one because is CeeDee Lamb playing? Is he going to actually play?
See,
if he's on that exempt list right now, I don't know. That's my curiosity because he's still trying to work back. I think when I read what you're looking at right now, he can be activated at any time.
Yeah.
I mean, but will he actually be ready? And that's right now my biggest question mark. Will Marvin Harrison Jr. actually play? I don't know if he got all his legal crap figured out between him and his dad and Fanatics, but is he actually going to play? And that's what I don't know. So those two question marks has me picking Acorn right now because I don't know exactly what's happening with those two receivers he got that could produce a crap ton of points for him. and I already looked at his bench. He needs both those guys to play.
Yes, he does.
And so I'm going with Acorn because there's too many question marks I have for Must Divers for this week.
I mean, Marvin Harrison's issue, with Fanatics isn't going to stop him from playing. It's going to, which that whole thing is just head scratching. Anyway, I agree. I'm also going to go with Ed Corn. I think that Muff Divers team is going to produce well. There's no way that if healthy CeeDee Lamb doesn't play, Jerry Jones just wrote that man to kind of check that it hurts even a billionaire's hand to write. And he didn't write that check and sign that agreement for him to be on the bench. So I expect CeeDee Lamb to play. I expect Marvin Harrison to play. Buffalo is going to throw everything they can at Kyler Murray, who has a lot of new weapons. He's talented, but the reality is he's still undersized. And when flushed out the pocket, it makes it hard for him to get the ball to his new toys. So I like Ed Corn in this matchup as well. All right. Company Man versus Kirkwood. Deuce, I'll give you the first pick this time.
All right, Company Man versus Kirkwood. I got Kirkwood on this one, just because. Okay, it's gonna be first game. Mahomes is gonna do Mahomes things, and I get that. But I'm actually expecting to see something more out of Baltimore's defense this year, and I want to see if they're gonna come out the gates in game one and actually show me what I'm looking at. Now, his wide receiver, Company Man's wide receiver. I like his wide receivers. I'm not even gonna lie. I do like his wide receivers, but I'm giving the edge to Kirkwood for Christian McCaffrey, who he didn't even want when we did that dang draft, but he didn't want him, but he got him. I mean, I'm still going to clown on that.
Well,
but it
won a championship because of him.
Right, exactly. Mike Evans, you can't be mad at Mike Evans. I don't care who throw on the damn ball. You can't. He gonna get his point. Jalen Hurts. I mean, unless he get hurt, but playing against Green Bay, I think is still trying to find their something. I don't know what the hell. They trying to find their identity, if you will. They don't know what they identify as right now. So I'm giving the edge to Kirkwood right now.
Yeah, I agree. Kirkwood, I like Kirkwood in this matchup. Green Bay's offense has found its identity. Its defense is the reason why they didn't go to the Super Bowl last year. And while they have a little bit more experience, I think that the Eagles' offense is still overmatching the Green Bay defense. Now, them playing on a Friday in a foreign country could factor in, but at the end of the day, you're still on the football field. You still got to line up and snap the ball and play with the pads on. So I think when we're looking at that the Eagles offense has the edge over the Packers defense. How about you, Jared?
This may not be good, but I agree with you, gentlemen. I think Kirkwood pulls this one off, and I think the X factor is Amari Cooper. He's playing his old team. Their number one cornerback is coming off of an ACL injury. The number 2 cornerback is out for 8 weeks. As long as Deshaun Watson can get him the ball, which we know he's capable of, it's just can he not get injured, because he been banged up since he got to Cleveland.
This is true.
And Mike Evans is known to have good days against Washington.
He is. Amari Cooper at home is very different than Amari Cooper on the road.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
Yes. So, all right. So
we got road splits of series.
We got a consensus. All right. So Bench Burrow and Dia, Super Mario Cristobal. I'll take this one first. So you got Broadway, you got the new Joe Cool versus a player that, I'm not mistaken, weren't they in the same class coming in? Or they're not more than a year apart coming into the league. Both of them great young quarterbacks. Like, I joke a lot about the Chargers because that's just what you do when you're talking about a rivalry team. But I will take nothing away from the talent level of Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is one of the most talented QBs in the league. Definitely one of the strongest arms. Get the ball downfield in a hurry. Throw the ball into tight spots. Joe Burrow has some new weapons, doesn't have his running back that was his safety blanket anymore now that Mixon has moved on to the Texans. So the Justin Herbert's wide receiving core, they're untested. You have a new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new system, lots of new players. Early in the season, that kind of spells disaster. Like, and this is not me taking anything away. This is not about the rivalry of being Raiders versus Chargers or whatever. This is just me looking at the newness of the system and implementing everything. Like, Harbaugh is a very talented coach, and he's going to get that team humming. I just don't see it starting off like that early in the season. And I think that that stack of Herbert and McConkey, which may produce fruit later on in the season, is not going to get it done for him this week. So I'm going to go with bench Burrow and Deal in this week one matchup. What do you guys think?
I think I also will go with bench Burrow and Deal because I see some matchups that just look promising. Anytime Travis Kelce steps on the field in prime time, he's known to produce. You got the New Orleans defense versus Carolina. Bryce Young doesn't produce. I see a lot of sacks, some turnovers. You know, I don't like Pittman because that Houston defense is going to be. I think they're going to be sneaky good this year. I don't see Pittman doing a whole lot. I don't see Deontay Johnson doing a whole lot because I don't have any faith in Carolina. But I think the players around them will do more than enough to carry them to a win this week.
Indeed. Dr. Deuce.
We're all in consensus. Bench Burrow still. You gentlemen said everything I would have said. Enough said.
Indeed. All right. Our front runner, as identified by all of the metrics, 2 boobs, 2 balls, 1 goal, versus hanging with Hernandez. All right, Jared, what do you think?
You know, I gotta go with the front runner. You got to go with Josh Allen until proven otherwise. He was QB1 last year for a reason. If he can't get it through the air, he gonna get it on the ground.
All right.
Breece Hall, if he got a healthy Aaron Rodgers, can put up some points.
You know,
you've already said that Green Bay's defense was the reason they not in wasn't in the championship game last year. I don't even know who their cornerbacks are. But I bet AJ Brown knows, and he gonna go out there. He gonna try to go out there and embarrass him. I don't like Kyle Pitts. I don't. We'll see if they do anything this year, but that's all. Higgins, I think.
Hold up. Can we put a pin right there in Kyle Pitts? Kyle Pitts and his agent. If you are seeing this, get that boy out of Atlanta. I love the city of Atlanta.
They did bring in Kirk Cousins.
Hold on. I love the city of Atlanta. Y'all have ruined this boy's career. Okay? I don't care who they brought in. It's too little too late. Do not sign the extension. Unless you get 1,200 yards and double-digit touchdowns this year, Kyle Pitts, run away as fast as you can after this season, young man. Okay, now back here.
Wow. They brought in Kirk Cousins. So I think they might actually throw him the ball this year. But I don't know who's blocking for Kirk Cousins. And there's a Watt on the other side of the field.
That's true.
Which is never
that's
good.
a problem. And we already know Kirk Cousins was not mobile, and he coming off an Achilles. It's not promising. But regardless, I'm going to go with 2 boobs, 2 balls, 1 goal to take this one this week.
Along with the bet I should have put on the over-under of how many games Aaron Rodgers plays in this season, I should have put a bet in on the over-under on how many games it takes for Michael Penix to take over as QB1 in Atlanta this season.
You still got time.
I'm definitely taking the under in whatever it is. All right, dudes, who you like in this one?
The consensus. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, the only thing that Henry Hernandez might have going for them is 8 wide receivers. I other than that, I just don't see them getting enough to overtake two balls, two moves, two ball, one goal. I don't see it unless sit everybody on the bench, then maybe they got a shot.
Well, let's see. I do not like this Pollard matchup. He's currently listed as the RB2 in Tennessee. I mean, he still has it to catch out the backfield and take a pass and break a tackle and do something possibly exciting. But I don't like it for him. So yeah, we do have a consensus there. I do not think that Anthony Richardson, another player coming off an injury last year in his rookie season. So potential out the door.
Right.
We shall see.
I think his shoulder's okay though. He joined he joined the grad chapter at Kappa. I seen him hitting some of them shoulder shimmies, so I think his shoulder might be all right. Just saying.
Indeed. All right. So, second to last matchup of the week. Since it involves one of our hosts, and I don't think he's going to be picking against himself this week, Dr. Deuce, who do you like?
Week 1.
Who do you like in this matchup between Stairway to Evans and the Big Green?
So, this is a toss-up for me because I can literally see this going either way. Now, the practical side of me is like, you know what? I've known Cowan almost 20 years. He generally makes really, really good selections. I trust his football IQ. I trust everything this brother does. He's a good cat. And then I look to see who he drafts. It's like, damn it, what happened to this boy? He used to be so damn smart. What happened? Maybe it's because Nathan was his roommate. I don't know. But just looking like don't not. So I'm just this match. I can literally go in any press to the others like okay he's probably some point and he'll if we can quit them if they can take the ball he's probably gonna draw for them. ETN I don't remember him too well but ETN going on this like him I'm probably going to be a Stroud so who got benched. Maybe not. What I'm gonna have to edge the green. Just.
All right, so Dr. Deuce with a Big Green. I am actually going to go the opposite direction. And number one, I know that Dak Prescott is going to have to throw for 500 yards because they have absolutely no run game. They cannot run the ball. And if you've seen the videos of Zeke this offseason, somehow he's gotten slower. I don't know. He looks so bad after training camp that they brought in Dalvin Cook. They're like, yeah, Zeke ain't the answer at backup. We better go get somebody to help us. So that lets you know Dak's gonna have to throw for a ton of yards, but I think that's the only position where I give Big Green the edge. So wide receiver, again, team that's gonna have to score a bunch of points and throw the ball a lot. St. Brown, Puka Nacua. I like those picks. Andrews is Lamar Jackson's favorite target. So, yeah, I'm going to give the edge to Stairway to Evans on this one. And that being said, we come to our last pick of the week. Rivals in fantasy. Our teams are rivals in the NFL, and the NFL schedule makers blessed us with starting this season off where we both ended last year facing each other. As it's already been pointed out, that game was not very kind to one of the teams, but we're not going to talk about it because, this is a new day for both teams. So obviously, we're not going to pick against ourselves. So Stairway to Evans.
No, you've done it for. You've done it for something.
I'm not doing it this week. That ain't the call this week, sir. So, Jared, who is your tie-breaking pick for the last matchup for week 1?
Oh man, very difficult decision because I think Jordan Love is going to produce. As I think Trevor Lawrence they gave him some money. I think he's going to get his life together this year. You can't go against Justin Jefferson because he's almost quarterback proof. Almost. Ayuk got his money. I think he going to produce. But you got Rice. He plays with Mahomes. You play with Mahomes, he can make anybody good. Barkley changed teams. Henry changed teams. Just so you got Jacobs, you got Ford who got the starting role. I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be one of those matchups that goes down to the wire. You got to watch it all. You got to watch it all weekend. And let me see. Just out of
So
curiosity.
come down to the Monday night night. You might need like 3 points, and I get like 2.9. Not having to mean you can go in one.
Yeah, it's going to be one of them games. It's going to be the game that everybody hates because as I'm looking at this, Dwayne's roster will be done after the 3:00 games on Sunday. And he just has to sit and wait to see if Mathis King can overtake him. And
with my Sunday night game and my Monday game. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I ain't too worried about George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk are both not going to get up. You know what? Let me knock on wood and not see it. Let me not even finish that. I'll put it out there. Let me not arrogantly finish that thought. I'm a hold my music.
That I was about to say that. I think that Ayuk and Kittle kind of vulture each other a little bit. I don't really like David Montgomery because he's not RB1. He'll get some points. The question is, how many points are the Chargers going to score? Because that's like, as the team goes, the kicker goes. But you know what? I think
we like to get field goals against the Raiders. Just throwing it out there. You like to get field goals against the Raiders.
This is true. But y'all got battling kickers. They're going to be kicking field goals back and forth. They're going to go back and forth kicking field goals. But I believe that in a close matchup, Devastator pulls this one out. I do.
Like I said, you used to be so smart.
Wow. You know what? Just
Indeed. And there you have it. So there are our week 1 picks. So one of the things that we throw out there all the time is that we offer anyone who's watching or who knows us, we let them know, hey, we are happy to take a look at your roster and give our input and give you our opinion on who you should start and sit. And so we have a request for that early this year. So we have a week 1 request of being able to assist a person with their roster. Let's take a look. All right. So here is the current iteration of the starting lineup along with the bench. And this is a standard league, which means no PPR, no half PPR. 6 points for a rushing or receiving touchdown, 4 points for a passing touchdown. So, Jared, since this request came through you, we'll let you give your input first.
I understand why he has Jared Goff at quarterback because the Lions get to play the Rams minus Aaron Donald. He retired. But as we said earlier, Dak Prescott gonna have to sling it. That's a toss-up. The Rams also have one of them defenses. I don't know who's on it. But it used to be Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. But one retired and one asked for a trade. Debo, Metcalf, leave them alone. Taylor, Etienne, Kincaid. Now that flex position, it's either Cooper or Higgins. He has Cooper, and as we said, them home road splits. They got him projected for 8.7. I think he goes for about 18. I think he's gonna go for about 125 and a touch, and that might be a long one
At
because
least 125,
because
at least 125 in a touchdown.
because here's the thing. Here's something else that people may not be thinking about. They got a new defensive coordinator, Mike Zimmer, king of the cover zero. There ain't no safety help. Because I remember Mike Zimmer was there when Terrence Newman got there. He put that boy on an island. And that's what he's going to do with these corners. They're going to be on islands. You, as they say in basketball, you reach, I teach. Well, when Diggs tries to jump that route and he missed, and Amari Cooper's off to the races because there's no safety help. Yeah, 125 in the touch. So I'm going to say leave Cooper there. That quarterback position, I'm gonna lean with Goff. Even though we've already said Prescott gonna have to sling it. My thing is this: if we know you can't run the ball, and we just sit back in zone, now you got to pick us apart. You can't tell me that Cleveland can't get home with Myles Garrett out there. Yeah, they got a rookie tackle. I think they're gonna line up in some form of zone. Say pick us apart before Myles Garrett can get there. And I'm going to put my money on Myles Garrett before Dak Prescott picks somebody apart. Not that he's not capable. I'm putting my money on Myles Garrett versus a rookie tackle.
Indeed.
See, for me, I'd put Higgins in. I'd put Higgins in only because of New England's defense. I think Higgins is going to get – and you got Burrow back just as long as you don't get hurt in the first play like a Jets quarterback did. But, I mean, all things equal, but then who do you take out? I agree you keep Cooper in. I might move him up actually into one of the wide receiver spots, and then, but who do you take out, Debo or Metcalf? And that's kind of where the toss-up goes. I myself would probably take Metcalf out. I like Metcalf. I love him as a receiver. I love everything. Dude is sneakily quick for being so damn big. And, I mean, they're both playing against defenses I get, but New England's defense is more suspect, I think, than Denver's or the Jets. I'd put in Higgins. And I'd probably take Metcalf out. But that's a hard one.
If you were going to take if you were going to take Debo or Metcalf out, I would actually go the opposite. I would go with T. Higgins over Debo Samuel. I think that the problem with the 49ers right now is that they have an abundance of riches in their skill positions between the tight end and their wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. And even though Brock is in his third year, you don't ignore the fact that this wide receiver just got a big contract. He basically blamed you for not getting him the ball as the reason why your team lost the Super Bowl. And I think that Brock is going to come out early and often targeting Ayuk in this first game of the season I'm okay with that, to make him feel like he's still loved and wanted. But that's an if. I actually wouldn't put Higgins in over either one of them in this game. You want to talk about teams that are soft touches. I mean, you got Seattle at home versus Denver. I don't care who the new quarterback is. I don't care all the other noise around the quarterback position in Denver cannot hide the fact that they're still not a good football team. And DK Metcalf is one of those wide receivers that seems to be quarterback proof. He's big enough and fast enough to get open, so I would play him. I would also disagree with Jared. In fantasy, remember, it's not about if the team wins or loses. It's not about whether the Cowboys win or lose. It's about what is Dak Prescott going to have to do to win this game? And I think that the Cowboys are going to have to throw the ball S ton. And so whether it starts being quick slants to Cooks, whether they start moving CD around in the formation, whether they start getting the ball to the tight end, they're going to have to throw the ball a lot this game, which equates points for Dak Prescott. So I would make the switch of Dak Prescott in at quarterback for this game. But other than that, that's the only change I would make. The only other thing I would also say is save yourself a headache, son. Trade or make a trade get yourself another tight end. Buffalo Bills tight ends production have dropped dramatically over the last 3 seasons. Ask me how I know. Ask me how I know. I've had both of their starting tight ends on my teams over the last 3 years, and I can tell you, 1 or 2 games per season they're gonna be good. The rest of the time, so get yourself another tight end and save yourself the headache now. That's my only other suggestion. So, all right. That being said, what outside of the obvious game of Raiders Chargers on Sunday, what other NFL games are you guys looking forward to this weekend? From either a personal standpoint or just a fantasy standpoint.
Baltimore, Kansas City tomorrow. I want to see how the defending champs start.
Man,
I want to see who's on the field first of all.
Thank you to the NFL scheduling people, because I love it when they take the championship matchup and they run it back at the beginning of the year. Baltimore had an amazing regular season last year. We thought Lamar got over the hump of his playoff challenges by making it to the AFC Championship. And that game was just way lower scoring than anyone thought it would be. But that's why the champs are the champs. You got to be the man. You got to beat the man. And the Ravens still have not proven that they can beat the man. So I think that that's a perfect way to kick off this season. Okay, Jared, which game are you looking forward to this week?
Obviously, Bucks and Commanders, because I'm a Bucks fan. My cousin's a Commanders fan. And I'm going to go check out the Commanders later this season in Deuce neck of the woods. But I also want to see what the Texans got. You got a second-year coach, second-year quarterback, produced well last year. They had some nice offseason additions. There's some people who say they have the team that can knock the Chiefs out to reign as the defending champs, and they could get in the Super Bowl. But, you got to win your first game before you can win game 2 and work your way towards the playoffs. So we're going to see what they do this weekend.
Indeed.
Talking 2025, they talking real life.
I think we're talking in real life. I'm actually looking forward to the Eagles versus in the first game in Brazil. So looking really interesting. Both of those teams made the playoffs last year, but both of them fell short of the ultimate goal. New faces and new places for the Eagles this year. So really looking forward to seeing how they look against each other with these two teams that both should be in playoff contention and in the hunt to hold the trophy up at the end of the season. So that wraps it up for us for week 1. Good luck to your fantasy team and your real team this weekend, Mr. Cowan. Mr. Caldwell, I hope your fantasy team and your real team both suck in all 3 facets of the game. Since we are facing each other, I hope, in the words of Dave Chappelle and the Play Haters Ball, I hope all the bad things in fantasy football happen to you and you only this weekend.
Okay, yes. But you're mad at me, but here's a going down. You have a 7 going down. Finish up 12. I still back.
Well, listen, your background's on Twitter is going to be a lovely silver and black after that game on Sunday for a wonderful week as we have our standard bet in place. So I'm just looking forward to seeing that beautiful silver and black. I mean, everyone knows you're a secret Raiders fan. I just wish you would just go ahead and come on and formally join the nation. I mean, in the words of Kendrick Lamar, he's a fan. So you might as well just go ahead and be real about it and just go ahead.
Well, I've been a Raiders fan than you Raiders. I don't want no man.
Indeed. Well, that wraps up week 1. We will be back next week to see what picks were correct, what we got wrong, and we'll talk about the inevitable dread that comes with the feeling of losing your week 1 fantasy matchup. So best of luck to everybody this week. If you would like us to give you some lineup advice, please drop us a line. We'll be happy to review your lineup and give you recommendations from our perspective. And until then, peace out.